Very warm welcome to everyone who's here at the Buddhist Mahavira public page, Facebook's public page this evening. Sorry for the delay. We had some little technical issues that we sorted out. And right now, today, we have our speaker who is from New York, USA, Bhante H. Kondanna, who will be sharing his Dhamma knowledge with us. I will bring Bhante onto the screen shortly. Just give me a minute. Uh, Good evening, Bhante. Welcome.
Good evening. How are
For
you?
you it's morning. Yeah, sorry. For you it's good morning. Okay, I'll read a quick profile of yourself and then we will get started, Bhante. Right.
Okay.
Okay, this is a profile for Bhante H. Kondanna. Bhante Kondanna is a Sri Lankan Buddhist monk. He received his novice ordination in 1968. His monastic training was in Colombo, Sri Lanka, and he obtained a BA in Buddhist philosophy from the University of Kelaniya in also in Sri Lanka. Then in 1985, he went to the States, the USA, to participate and to also provide his helpful skills and services at the New York Buddhist Vihara. During that time, Bhante Kondanna began to attend classes at the City University, New York, and now holds a Bachelor of Science in Social Work. Moreover, in 1997, he obtained a Master's in Social Work from Fordham University, also in New York. Bhante Kondanna believes that human beings should grow up having a spiritual foundation. He hopes that his contributions and experiences, together with the philosophy that he has, enriches and enhances the lives of everyone in New York City and wherever he wishes to be able to spread the word of the Buddha. I would now like to invite Bhante to start this evening sharing.
Okay.
Today's sharing is called Free Will in Buddhism. So Bhante, would you kindly?
Sure. Thank you, Bhante. Okay. Good evening to my friends. Let me begin with my traditional way of, bear with me, my camera is moving sometimes. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Sabba papassa akaranam kusalassa upasampada sacitta pariyodapanam etang buddhana sasanam. Dear friends, good evening to all of you. I would like to say thank you for Mr. Leslie Jayawardena and the committee and the Venerable Chief, Kondanna Maha Sangha members of Buddhist Mahavihara for inviting me to join with this Dhamma series, Dhammadana series program, which you have been doing for a long time. I remember when the late chief was there, he was doing this Dhamma talk every Friday evening. So expanding your understanding of the Dhamma. He was our teacher too. We still listen to his talks. I think that service opened whole Malaysian communities to the Dhamma, open the path, gateway of Dhamma, learning and practicing in their lives. So anyway, today they invite me to speak on free will and Buddhism. When we think of this title, I don't know if any of you were thinking about free will Or in Buddhism, if Buddha had spoken about it, I think this was not an issue for the Buddha. This is mostly, when you see that, it's a very philosophical issue, mostly current day, not at that time. But however, we may be able to find some information, important information, how he deal, if we really have a free will or not, according to the Buddha's teaching. I recite a very famous gatha at the beginning, as traditionally we do. When we look at it, that is our basic premises, basic foundation in our spiritual way of life. What Buddha taught was always based on this very basic, if even I think I mentioned last time too, that to cease from doing all evils and cultivate good to purify our mind. This is the Buddha, basically Buddha taught. So you can see that stay away from all evil, do good, purification of mind. If that is what we're supposed to do, so we'll be on that path. This is what Buddha found in his samsaric sojourn, searching for the truth as a truth seeker. So he found that there's nothing else we have to do as the purpose of life. We have to set that goal, and in between, find that final bliss. So we have to walk on that path within this framework. So this is why we listen to Dhamma. This is what we do, not only by listening, but we put ourselves into practice. But however, we know to find this free will concept, we have to have some understanding about the environment that Buddha lived, and how was the world at the time. Not huge world, but during that time, in the West also there was some development in philosophic ideas. In the Buddha's time, around that society, we read from the sutras here and there, we find information. There were 62 religious views. 62. Out of those 62, there were 6 major traditions during the Buddha's time. So I think many of you might have heard about them or know about them already, but we have to just look at them. And also at the same time, when we look in the West, there is also some interesting things were going on, especially we know that Greek philosophers, great Greek philosophers were coming at the time. So definitely we could pay attention to them too, even though I'm not a great, philosophical person, and studied much in that areas, because if we have within the Buddha's teaching, there are, plenty of things for us to develop and practice and to learn. When we turn to during the Buddha's time, there were major 6 teachers. One is who called Purna Kassapa, who denies any reward or punishment for either good or bad. Just look at it. No reward, no punishment. You can do good, you can do bad, no difference. So that's how he presented his vision. And then comes the other one, is very important, another one called Makkali Gosala in the Ajivaka tradition. So his teaching is labeled as Niyativada, deterministic or fatalism. So we are powerless. Suffering is coming from predestined. There is nothing that we can do. We are powerless people. What it has set, so that is how we have to go with, kind of attitude that he was carrying on. And then we come to another teacher called Pakudekachayana. So he's an eternalist. As eternalist is this matter, pleasure, pain, and the soul are eternal and do not interact. They are eternal. We don't have to do anything. As it, once it is here, it is here. So it will be as long as it is. So then you can do anything you want, you wish. You have, entertain yourself. Be happy-go-lucky kind of interesting way of thinking. That is how his concept and idea was. So there's nothing in other sense that we don't have to do anything either from that point of view. Of course, then comes to very interesting person most of the time. We find in the teachings, and we find many students come from him and ask argument with the Buddha, like even Upali, that is Nigantanatha Buddha or the Mahavira Jaina. So I believe that you all understand at least his, even you go to on pilgrimage now, even today, you can see those temples there. And extreme non-violent practice. Be endowed with, cleaned by, suffused with the avoidance of all evil. How much non-violence he was practicing. They already have, like today, this COVID-19 situation, we all have to wear masks. And they were doing that at that time, thinking that micro beings could enter your mouth and that could destroy the life. So therefore they were using masks. And even when they were walking, they were sweeping before they step on. They always had a flock of peacock feathers to clean where we clean their front as they were walking. So this much of non-violent thoughts they had, and also they were thinking of karma too. And then the other teacher, major teacher, was that agnosticism, what is called Ajita Kesekambala, or Sanjay Vella to put his name. And so it's very interesting that their way of thinking too. I don't think so, I don't think in that way, or otherwise, I don't think not or not. So no answer could get from that person. So always he had kind of escaping from it. So this kind of teachers were at the time. So Buddha was, this is actually, this could be, I don't know, today they put it everything in under Hinduism, but At the time, it was, in a way, was going through uh, Brahmanic Upanishad, and these were the words that mostly we hear in the ancient wisdom when we talk about it. So under this, this was the Buddha was not with this. All of this were in a way appropriately. Buddha was criticized, and Buddha was trying to. His path was middle path. He was trying to show people. Buddha was only could show the path, and people have to make the decision. He did not impose on someone that his beliefs, but he encouraged. When he was teaching the monks, he was saying, monks, I really encourage you. This is how I see it. You had to think, you had to start practicing, and you can do this. So it's very compassionately, as a compassionate being, he was teaching this. And but at the same time, I will come back to a certain part of the teachings of Purna Kassapa and maybe Makkarika Gosales. We can look at them, what they were teaching. In reality, it's very interesting to read things in what comes in the sutras about their teachings, what they were teaching. And those are the basic ideas I just reminded you. At the same time, when I'm not really good at Western philosophy, yet we all know that in the Greek there was a time period where they had really Greek philosophers. Like in the earliest one that we can see, we see is, I believe, Democritus. So during the 5th century and 4th century BCE, he was there, and according to the history, he was the first atomist. He believed that world is made up of atoms in void, so they are moving as freely they were moving, and atoms are in motion and they are moving in that void. It is, so he thought it's determined by law of nature. So this is how he, his understanding was. But all is determined, and he thought that if we can know the state of that motion of these atoms once, then he thought we can predict it about the future or the past, present, and about the universe. So with these ideas was people were influenced and also interested in this, and sometimes very concerned because this is something new, something interesting. So based on those things, there were his followers too. He was influenced by other people, and then after him was an interesting person that we see in Greek philosophy is the person called Epicurus. Epicurus, and the another one is Chrysippus. These two were also, mostly in the 4th century and 3rd century, and second up until 2nd century they were BCE. This is BCE period. So they were very important when we look at their teachings. Their basic teaching gave the opening to the Western schools of this free will, connected with free will. Especially, I think here I found that, as was teaching, Epicureanism came from Epicurus. He highly influenced school of philosophy, influenced by few other people later on. So he had own school. He established his own school, which is known as the Garden in Epicurus, and his followers were known for eating very simple and moderately, and they were not very simple, simple lifestyle. Openly allowed everybody to come in, even for the women that study to practice with them, they allowed. So very kind of generosity, generous person. I see. I noticed that his teachings were open to people. He also had written many, but we do not see current day, even though they had written up many things, but they didn't. Nobody has, so none of those things have survived, other than very fragmented couple of them, I believe. Sometimes we hear in the Latin or Greek and in biblical tradition have kept them. For Epicurus, the purpose of philosophy was to help people attain happy, tranquil life, characterized by what he called that their ataraxia, peace and freedom from fear, and aponia, the absence of pain. So they were afraid of the suffering and pain. They did not like. The idea was that if they could live happily, joyfully, peacefully, that's what he was, targeting at, working. I believe this is where he was training his people. And according to him and to Epicurus, death is the end of both the body and the soul, and therefore should not be feared. So that's how he was, teaching and encouraging people. He taught that people should behave ethically, not because the God punish or reward people for their action, reward people for their actions, but because immoral behavior will burden them with guilt and prevent them from attain ataraxia. So he was very compassionately, he was thinking. So you do things, but in other words, it says that you have free will. You have free will, you can think, not because of you're afraid of God, somebody would be punishing you for your bad action or not. And but you will feel bad when you do things. I think we can understand this. In Buddha's teaching also, Buddha says that natang kammang katang, is not good to do that kind of action that you would have to look back to it with tear-filled eyes. That means that if you are repent, if you are crying after looking at something that you have done in the past, so that action is not good. I'm not saying that he and Epicurus were teaching the same thing, but I'm saying we also have similar teaching parts. But this is mostly similar to his teaching, is like similar to what is called this Ida Purna Kassapa or Makali Gosala's teaching. We can later on, I can bring you back to that later as time permits. So however, this Epicurus teaching led to opening one major school of free will related in the West, what we call as libertarian, later they're known as libertarian free will. And so everything is determined but kind of freedom was there within that determined thing, because it is all coming from soul, eternal soul. That's how he believed. So Epicurus believed in such a way. So therefore, they had some kind of free will to work, but it is determined, it is coming from the inner soul, and you are in this category. What happened later on was this idea was well developed in the Catholicism in Western tradition. So then, after the other person who is, I mentioned that Chrysippus, who was born and lived in 3rd century BCE. He was very kind of deterministic view of fate, but nevertheless sought a role of personal freedom in the thought and action. So, depending on understanding the nature of the universe, and he thought people can exercise their freedom and do activities, and they can find, within the, of course, we know that, in biblical sense, there always God is there, and around that their teachings were built up. Somehow, so these teachers, he was a little deviate from Epicurus, and his behavior, his philosophy came labeled under later on what they call as stabilistic tradition, compatibilist free will school. That is the second major school. First one was liberationist free will, and the second school came as compatibilist free will. So very deterministic, the ideologies were there. And then another kind of, when we study the Western traditions, what become is that it's very similar to no free will group. There's no free will, and that is the God is there, God has determined, and we have to be under him. We have to set our faith and pray for the Lord, and that faithful behavior would be you may find your own liberation. So kind of these are the three different ideologies that we can see in the Western tradition. So both in the East as well as the West, we see these kind of teachings very similar, even India, within those 6 teachers, and in the Western tradition. Of course, there could be many, hundreds of them. Later on, there are many like Platoism and things, even, those days, very similar. That's anyway the God-centric, soul-centric, soul is there. And this concept of soul, and even in the Eastern tradition, India, that they could not give up. That's even still, it's a very difficult thing for people to understand. But you know that when Buddha was living, many people came to him asking about if they have soul or not. So you remember when Buddha did not go with these ideas, it was not matter to him. Why? Because he saw that either if there's a soul, even which is permanent entity, he rejected this permanent soul, or eternal soul, the concept that they were bothering. And Buddha rejected them. Why? You are responsible. We are responsible ourselves for our liberation. So that means Buddha, for them, those teachers, either in the West or in the East, those teachers seem to have as basically three different schools that in what they had in the libertarian free will, or compatibilist free will, or non-free will, in these three schools. And when we look at in the eastern side, those 6 teachers, I think they also belong to very similar ideologies, and that seems that do not have, they cannot do anything. Now, look at in our day-to-day life stories, what do we hear from people in today? Sometimes we hear that, it is destined to be so. Or as we would say, it is his karma or her karma. Or it would say, there's no other way, we cannot do anything. It is my fate. So those ideologies still hanging around with us, and we are continuing with same beliefs. And so did Buddha go with these things? Did he accept it? Did he say that it is fateless, you are doomed to be so? Buddha did not go with that kind of idea. He encouraged people. You are the master, you can find your own liberation, your freedom. You must be acting. So this is how I see Buddha spoke and he taught to us. So in his teachings, definitely he was encouraging us to keep practicing and practicing and practicing, because I remember when we think of even if you don't have that punya, he encouraged us to develop it. So if you go take the teaching part of what it comes in the, I believe in one of the sutras in Majjhima Nikaya, Vitakka Santana, he says that the tiny bit of punya that you have, reflect on it and think about it. Think again and again and again, and meditate on that and make it yours stronger in that. So this is how he encouraged us to practice. So definitely he was encouraging us to practice and practice and practice. So in that practice, so many things he rejected. He is rejecting eternal soul, he rejected that karma, because of karma, that as we think, everything depends on our karmas. He rejected that. But what do we have to do? You can change yourself. If you have done something wrong, of course, you are the earner of karma, that's true. But owner of your own karmas, you will, results will be coming after you. So he was always encouraging to not to do bad things, do good. Being in good side, he's encouraging us to cultivating good mental purification. Mind, purify your mind. So that is the liberation. So that is what is. So now what do we have to liberate our mind from? Bonds. So what are the bonds that we have? Because of we were bonding because of this greed, hatred and ignorance. When you're looking at it, basically, this is what many of the time, this is what many of us, the monks, and we talk about. So these are the real bonds what we have. And so in day-to-day life, if we be mindful, having, sati, what you call as mindfulness, then we remember not to do anything bad and cultivate goodness in us. So that is where you're supposed to be. Being in there, you have to perfect it. No, what the Buddha, he perfected himself. Therefore, what he experienced, what he has done in his life, what he has shown as adhinava, so as consequences, as resultants, this is what he was sharing with us. His own experiences, he could see, he put them together, and so he was encouraging us to keep on going in that path, what we call as Noble Eightfold Path. It is not just a philosophic idea, but that is how we have to guide our lives on. In a train, that is the path to walk on. Buddhas are always, showing us the path, and we have to walk on that path. By then, we can break the chain. What is the chain? See the dependent origination. So understand the dependent origination, which begins from avijja, ignorance. If we see that avijja, ignorance, and because of that ignorance, we develop so much of unwholesomeness. Everything depends on that. So everything developed because of this ignorance. And that is I think you might have heard, I remember in the another discourse, Buddha says that you have to have, in that process, you have to have good kalyanamitas, good friends. Kalyanamitta is always pushing you, turning you, guiding you in the right direction to practice this Eightfold Path, be on the Eightfold Path. Due to our, lack of mindfulness, sometimes we will be going towards the wrong direction. If that happens, always your kalyan with a good friend is turning you to that. So Buddha's idea, Buddha's teaching is to definitely liberate you. You can find your liberation. He believed in that. He knew that we can liberate. That is why Buddha, he was addressing monks. He said, monks, you can do it. If you're going to do it, I would never suggest you to do this. So throughout his lifetime, 45 years, this is how he was encouraging us people to do it. For all of us as followers of the Buddha, we definitely can make effort and improve these virtues within us. So unlike these Western traditions, who was saying that we are doomed to face, so we are faithless, we are powerless, God is the one who is to do it, liberate you from, or like, Purna Kassapa taught that according to Purna Kassapa, this is very interesting that I read something in middle and in the Digha Nikaya, that he was teaching there was nothing that we can do, even you. He sometimes, showed there was it's a very interesting passage I found. Let me find if I could, trace it. That saying, even if you walk, killing all beings in the river Ganges, and by making it the blood full of blood, that would not do any difference. So that is what he was saying. He mentioned coming in the discourse, it says we give me a second. Maybe I know that the passage is beautiful passage that he was reading. Purna taught a theory of non-action or non-doing. So whereby the body acts independent of the soul, merit or demerit. There's no merit or demerit. What we, as mostly Buddhists talk about, merit or demerit is we are not responsible. We can kill, there's no mother, no father, nobody's doing this. Even if you do all the sacrifices, it does not bring any good to you, because you live the time that as long as you're going to live. Even if one were to go, this is what it says, even if one were to go along the right bank of Ganges, killing and getting others to kill, mutilating and getting others to mutilate, torturing and getting others to torture, there would be no evil from that cause, no coming of evil. Even if one were to go along the left bank of the Ganges, giving and getting others to give, making sacrifices and getting others to make sacrifices, there would be no merit from that cause, no coming of merit there. Through generosity, self-control, restraint, and truthful speech, there is no merit from that cause, no coming of merit. So this is what Purnakasipa was teaching. But in reality, that means that nothing we have to do. So that's, you don't earn merit or you don't earn demerit. Kusala or akusala, wholesome or unwholesome, that you don't gain from this. This is what his teaching was. But definitely when you hear those words, that comes in the Samanyapala Sutta, in the Digha Nikaya. You can go back to, that's the second one in the Digha Nikaya, second discourse in the Digha Nikaya. So it's a very long discourse that he was in that you can see all these teaching parts. And Buddha never agreed this one. So he always encouraged he went with the encouraging people to engage in activities which develop their skillfulness, their wholesomeness, spirituality. So that would be leading into this liberation. He was emphasizing liberation. We can liberate ourselves if we cannot liberate. So in that sense, we have a free will. In that sense, we have free will. We can change ourselves. And the same way, the Makari Gosal also was teaching. Those teachers, they are teaching were like that. But when we think reality, so now what we have to, with this encouragement also, we always have to get rid of this greed, hatred, and ignorance. So starting from, ignorance, avijja, so we work towards that goal, and everybody has freedom. Everybody can do it. He didn't say that I am the only one to do it. No, you all have that skill. You have to develop. Within us, we have this skill. We have to improve and doing it. And when we think of that, we definitely there are two levels of it: mundane level and supramundane level. Mundane level, we go and practicing all this. You go to temple and you offer dana, you offer doing really nice things, sharing with other people, guiding other people, being a good friend, guiding other people. Those are all mundane level activities. And doing this mundane level, definitely we work hard and hard and hard. Then as you improve your understanding level of Dharma, understanding and practicing meditation, getting in retreats, when we do those things, what happened to you? You would be coming to the level of understanding. Then we come to the what we call as supramundane level of work. What is that means? That definitely we are bonded to this cycle of life and that what we call a samsara. In that process, when we come to that level, what he is talking about is that, of course, we are bonded to this samsara because of these fetters. Of course, he's talking about, we know that we are talking about 10 fetters. So some, in the modern time, there are many different people come and showing up, and they are just like trying to show up something is possible. It's possible now within this. Of course, if it's possible, it's within this life, a really nice thing. And some Buddha is always, that is what Buddha encouraged. Of course, he said that human life is very shared, and teaching is very shared. So right now is what we have. Both we have Buddha's teaching is available. You are a human being, so therefore make effort. But some people would be say, oh, it is, I'm not there yet. So, but as our obligation to share with you is, of course, we all should make effort. So using the teachings, Eightfold Path, walking on the path, dedication, with much dedication, we have to work hard to get rid of this. Where does it begin? Only when you become an experimenter. And from that level onward is that supramundane level. You slowly, we can, slowly but steadily, we can work on this area, what we call as, we all have sakkaya ditthi, we all have these visions, waves, we are full of waves, and therefore we are hanging on to these things. The first thing is called identity wave, which is, I, my, mine, which is the most difficult thing to get rid of it. And then comes the doubt. We always, it is about, when we talk about doubt, it's about Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. Buddha, according to the teachings, Buddhe kankati, Dhamme kankati, Sanghe kankati. So we doubt of Buddha. Was he there? Did he really teach this? Is this his teaching? Or maybe even today you can find that people would be thinking, did he teach this? Did he push us to do this? Kind of attitude, questioning, doubt may be arising in many of our minds. So then we who are living today, there are so many rituals. You can see in the Newly they are still inventing certain, okay, we have this kind of puja, that kind of puja. So many people, we are diverting from things. Even though we are the right path we have, or instead of being on the right path, they are pushing us into wrong directions. So what happened? We are, as human beings, worldly beings, we are got caught up those things and believing such people, we run after them. And instead of sitting and practicing and working out, remember what the last disciple that Buddha asked at the time of Buddha's parinirvana, there was a monk who was sitting and practicing meditation. His determination was, before Buddha passed away, I want to find the light. Having said so, think he was practicing meditation. Such effort, such determination is important. But what is happening with us is always, there are, as we normally call that, Devadattas are always, Maradhutas are always hindering us from getting the right thing. practicing. So that kind of discouragement is still there. So even today, we can say this. So we are getting into rituals and attachments. And that is the fetters that we, basic three fetters, and then come to sensual desires and ill will. Kama, Chanda, and Vyapada in Pali. So we have all these. These are the problems we have. So if you really have to determine and in the path and work hard with determination like Buddha did, with the perfected determination. And remember when I mentioned that he was sitting under the Bodhi drinking, I would never give up this seat even though my blood and flesh dried up. I would not give up this seat. So similar kind of strong will, strong determination we have to pass these barriers that we have. The bonds, to break the bonds that we have. We are bonded to this samsara. So is it possible? Yes, if it is not possible, Buddha would not teach us. But work firmly, determine and work on it. So that is how we have to go with. And then comes to material rebirth, lust, karma, then comes the ruparag, man, uddhacha, and avijja. These are the things. See, in the dependent origination, we start with ignorance, avijja, paccaya, sankhara. Depending on ignorance, sankhara is created. All defilements are made. Everything is made because of ignorance. So slowly on here, and this in the Feta story, we go with this identity view, doubt, ritual in our attachment, and sense desires, ill will, and material rebirth, lust. So we are looking for heavenly realm to born and enjoy those heavenly, sukha, dibba sukha. So the comfort and happiness and joy that which is the same, I believe. You would be bored if you can see how it is. That's also according to Buddha. That is even though some kind of truth in that. But if you do see the consequences of that, the resultants of that, you will not really desire for those things. And the immaterial rebirth. So these are the things that people are desiring for. I don't want to go through this. These are painful. So then looking something better than this. So that is how people are offering dhanas today, just to get into the heaven realm and have better life than this. So that is mostly due to, that's also part of our ignorance, to wish for such things. Then the other thing is that, okay, sometimes we do good things and then we start measuring other conceit, kind of like, oh, I'm better than you, I'm better than this, most of you kind. Then you are starting measure, look down upon other people. And these are hindrances, actually fetters that you bonded to this samsara. And restlessness sometimes, then start again, mind is always for some things. They are become vichikicha, mana, uddhacha, and ignorance. So of course, ignorance is the last break in this chain or in fetters. So this we can see all the 5 hindrances as well as these 10 fetters. We have to really let go, and letting go, we have the ability to. That's why Buddha encouraged. Buddha told us this is the path to freedom. So we can find the freedom. This is the path to freedom. So find it. Nobody else can do it for yourself, but you yourself have to do this. So we are responsible in that sense, not the God or not the somebody else. And nobody else can do it. So you have to walk in this path. And the Western tradition, Eastern tradition, just prior to the Buddha, those 6 teachers, what they were teaching is also same as these Western traditions. So similar, even though they have different views, sometimes, basic three ideas are according to their teaching is those non-doing, either fatalist or that predetermined ways that they were not ready to go with by breaking. There was no way to break this cycle. So they couldn't find it. They had a difficulty finding. So somehow, with great determination, Buddha came to this world to find the path and share it with the other beings. I believe so. He did that very beautifully. That path is still available. So our duty is to make effort, determine, and walk on that path. By doing so, I'm sure that we all will be, whoever interested in, will all be able to find that path of happiness, that liberation, what we call state of peace, nibbana. So may you have the courage and strength to attain ultimate bliss of nibbana. So this is what my sharing is for you today. So I believe all of us can find the path of happiness by practicing, enhancing our understanding. So I hope my few thoughts that I shared, in fact, would be helping you to find your interest in to learn more, study more, examine more. So thank you for the.
Thank you, Bhante. It was an excellent sharing, and we have almost taken up an hour of your time. But there are no questions from the audience this evening.
Okay.
But I think there was a question that I had posted to you earlier. I don't know whether you could see it on your private chat. Okay.
Bhante, wouldn't determinism concept of God said so is something sometimes far more effective in managing human beings as opposed to Buddha's method of letting you decide through your personal experience and live learning. Tilak says, Bhante, can you move camera? Oh, sorry, I didn't see this. Yes, Tilak. In a way, because of people are working with, I think, more when they are afraid of somebody. But Buddha didn't want to, I believe Buddha didn't want to make them afraid. Of course, there are things to be afraid of if you want to. If you really, when you look at certain teachings about karmic experiences and things, that is, people should be aware of and be afraid to do bad things. But determinism that God said so, if they are obeying, I don't think that people are obeying even to that. People who are really, because they have opportunity to confess, and therefore all these things are to correct your behavior. What behavior is, to change or modify your behaviors. But I don't know. Pleasure-seeking beings are really would change themselves. Even determinism was there. God said so. You have to be obeyed to the God. But are they doing that? Both with independent, we have different personalities. These are problem of personalities, not what the teacher said. Teachings are there. You have freedom in the sense of to decide by yourself. You're a wise person, you think and do it. Not to get punished, not to go to jail, You don't have to go to jail to do, get punishment. But so even the God's, believing in the God word, don't you think that there are people still doing the mistakes, wrongdoings? They do. That with understanding, your understanding is what you have to improve our ignorance. We have to get rid of ignorance and keep going in the right path. You have to be honest to your integrity. These are the things that we have to develop within us, but they are not doing it though. So I think as teachers, as guidance, we may have to, push, encourage people to do good. And they are not doing, some people, they do by themselves. For example, if we train our children, so we have to guide them. We have to be a role model for them. Then they will be picking it from us. Nature versus nurture. So all these things are helping for us to put people in the right path. I think that's how I look at it.
Thank you,
So
Bhante. Yeah, I think you kind of answered my question already. Yeah, whether it's God driven or whether it's your own mind, there you are entitled to your own opinion and your own actions, and you should be responsible for them.
yes,
Yeah. Okay,
definitely.
we've come to the end of this evening's session, Dhamma sharing. I would now like to invite Bhante Kondanya to share this marriage that we have accrued with the Devas and also with the departed beings.
Yes, let's do so. There are, including our late chief and all the other people who are not with us today. May they all be shared this good merit for this evening. Even with some difficult, some certain things are to maybe not clear still. My sharing, with the sharing, whatever I generate, may all this merit be shared with our late friends and relatives and who are not with us anymore. And wishing so, let us recite the Gatha. First with the Devas, Akasattha Chubummattha Deva Naga Mahindika Punyantang Anumoditva Chirang Rakhantu Lok Sasnang Chirang Rakhantu Desanang Chirang Rakhantu Mang Parang. And let us recite the Gatha to dedicate marriage to our relatives. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita huntu nyatayo. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita huntu nyatayo. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita huntu nyatayo. May at the same time, may all of you and the Mahavihara community at large, all of you be well, happy and peaceful. May you all have good health, peace and happiness. And also let us share this. May all the people around the world who are going through the suffering due to this COVID-19, and may everybody recover from that. May everybody at peace. Wishing so, please put your hands, palms together. Abhivadana silissa nichang uddapachayino chattaro dhamma vaddhanti ayuvanno sukhang balang ayurarogya sampatti sagga sampatti meva chato nibbana sampatti minate samijjatu. Thank you and good night.